I can figure out how to make the slides go.
All right, here we go.
This is why a lot of people are downsizing. You know, you've got all this stuff, and it's not stuff sometimes anybody wants. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes it's not. But when you start thinking about having too much stuff, the very first thing you need to do is stop buying things. I don't mean not to buy bread and milk, but you know, I go to the store and I go, oh, that's so pretty. It's shiny. I want it. I've quit buying that stuff. So, and that has helped a whole lot, not having to get rid of it in the first place. So I always say, when you want to downsize, you need to make a plan. Every plan is different. Are you downsizing because you just have too much stuff? Are you downsizing because somebody died and you've got to clean out a house? Are you just trying to clean up the garage? There's a lot of differences there depending upon what you're doing. Are you under any kind of time constraint? Is it, you know, if you've inherited a house, the faster you can get it on the market, the faster you get that money out of it. So you need to think about your timeline also. So take before and after pictures. Karen, I told her about a little project. I was the executor of an estate, and the house that he owned had been invaded by a bunch of people who were drug users. And after he died, I got to clean the house out, and I would show her pictures, and she said, oh, and I would tell her all the stuff I had recycled and all of the stuff that, all the different things that I did. So this is the house that I had cleaned out. There's my favorite before and after picture that's taken from the same place. So it can be done. You can get rid of stuff, and you can do it as sustainably as possible. Unfortunately, as you look at that picture, there were a lot of clothes in there. They were all soiled and they needed to be thrown away. There had been animals in the house as well as people with no running water. So we had to throw it away. And that sort of broke my heart because I want to reuse anything I can reuse. Okay, so when you first decide what you're going to do, you want to go in and you want to survey the area and you want to think about safety concerns. I mean, is the pile of junk so high it's going to fall over on you and trap you or hurt you? Are there needles? Is there broken glass? Are there chemicals that are not good? Is it going to be too hot? I don't want to clean out the garage in July because it's very hot out there. So, and that's a safety concern. So you also want to figure out what kind of waste do you have? Do you have stuff that can be given away? Stuff that can be reused by somebody else? Is it something that just needs to be recycled, or is it just plain old garbage? Because sometimes they're just garbage and there's not much you can do but take it to the landfill. And then we're going to talk about some of the options, how to get rid of things. Obviously, most anybody can set a dumpster and start filling it up. That's expensive. It's also sort of wasteful because a lot of the stuff that goes in these dumpsters can be reused or can be recycled. Okay, what do you need when you go in to start decluttering? If it's your stuff, if it's family stuff, sometimes there's differences. That if you're going into, your parents have died, one of your parents or somebody that you love has died, you get real attached to the stuff that they handled all the time, and you need some emotional support. Get a sister, a brother, your husband, your kids, somebody that you can talk to about, because it's very hard. Do you need somebody to carry stuff for you? Are you physically able to move the things that need to be moved? I'm fortunate. I have 2 grandsons that work at UPS, and they're nice and strong, and they moved all kinds of stuff for me. When you're going through things, take pictures of the stuff. You want the memories. You don't want the junk. then you'll also have to have supplies, bags and boxes and brooms and whatever you're cleaning with. My husband just came home. Honey, this is being recorded. Sorry about that. So you have most of that stuff. Don't go out and buy a bunch of stuff if you don't need to. Again, not buying stuff is part of the process of trying to downsize. So I needed, when I was cleaning up the last time, I needed gloves so I wouldn't hurt myself. I needed one of those headlamps so I could see in the dark because the electric was off. And I needed not a broom, but I needed a shovel to clean up with. So, but I had most of that stuff. I like this cat. I'd love to get rid of it, but I hate it. It's ugly. I never use it, but it's got sentimental value. That's where the pictures come in. And here's the next pictures. This is my sentimental value. I had it for almost 50 years. I finally got rid of it. It came from a friend of mine who's now dead, and I loved her, and it reminded me of her. But I have the picture. So sometimes you have to ask, why can't you get rid of it? Why are you keeping all this stuff? Some of the things I've heard is I might need it someday. And, you know, I tell my husband, we can go to the store and buy another screw or a box of nails. It's not that expensive. You know, we really don't need to keep all of these nails and screws and little things that he keeps. And a lot of stuff is like that. I have dishes that I've gotten rid of. At one point, I did get rid of a chicken roaster that I needed. And I thought, oh dear. So I went over to the Goodwill and I bought another one, and it was nicer than the one I had. It cost me $2 and I didn't have to store it forever. Maybe a 3 or 4 now. Inflation being like it is. You talk about, it used to belong to somebody, my grandmother, or my mother, or somebody that you loved. Take a picture of it, keep it. Getting rid of something that was theirs does not mean that you don't love them. Another one I hear is that it takes too much time and energy. Yeah, it does take a lot of time and energy. But don't make somebody else clean up your mess. If you've read the book, The Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, that was the whole premise of the book. Don't make somebody clean up after you. Clean up after yourself. So the gift one is always sort of a problem. Was it Karen? Who was it that said that they had somebody that was downsizing and brought all the things that they had given to her and said, do you want them back?
Yeah.
You know, that was one way to do it. She said her feelings were hurt at the time, but really they had kept her gifts for a very long time and they had to downsize. So that was okay. She came to terms with it. And if somebody really gives you a gift, it means it's yours to do with what you want. They don't mean it to be a curse to you. Well, most people don't. Selling, you know, I've thought about this. We had it, but if you have an awful lot of small items to sell, a yard sale will move part of the items for you. And you'll make a little bit of money. It's hard to do a yard sale. I don't know how many of you have done that, but it can be very time consuming. If you need the money, consider consigning things. There are some lovely consignment shops here in town. I prioritize things. I think if it's worth less than $25, I'm just going to get rid of it. If it's more than $25, I'm going to sell it. That's another way to do that. Of course, if you need the money, you make your own decisions. This is where it's very personal. Okay, where do you start? Well, first you've got your plan together and you know what kind of stuff you're getting rid of. You've got a general idea, not everything obviously, but you've got a general idea what you get rid of. So you can either sort by categories, you can sort by location, or you can sort of do a hybrid of the two. Sorting by materials would say that you come in first and you take out everything that's obviously trash and throw it away. Then you come through and you might want to pick up everything that can be recycled. Don't recycle all those boxes. You may need a couple of them. But you go through and you can pick up your recycling, and then you can go through and just pick up, I don't know, whatever it is that's the next thing that you want to get rid of. You could go through your dishes and say, these are the dishes I'm getting rid of. So you could sort of do it by category, or you can do it by location. You can just start at one spot and work your way around the room, or you can do a combination of the two. But I like working and working my way around the room. Start at one spot, just touch everything that you have, decide what to do with it. I have a location to put things. So I make a spot to sort things I want to sell, trash, recycling. Trash is usually a garbage can. Recycling is a recycling bin of some sort. I'll have a box that may be for stuff that's needs to go into the has bin. That would be like oils and furniture polish and light bulbs, things that shouldn't be taken to the trash. Okay. So bag stuff up and take it out. That's one way to do it. You'll see as soon as you start on it, you'll see an improvement immediately when you go through and just take out stuff that's trash, stuff you know you can't do anything else with but take it to the trash. So you take your trash and your recycling out, it will already look much better. The other thing is, if you're in an area where you want to keep some of this stuff, take that stuff and put it where it goes. You want to keep your dad's hammer, put it in the garage, maybe, wherever you think that it goes. Okay, then have sorting for all the rest of the stuff. These are items that the city has specific places that they go. We have a has-been. It's off of the outer loop, over south of the dump. And electronics recycling, the city will take electronics up at Meriwether. It will also take them at the pop-up drop-offs. Paper shredding is also available at the pop-up drop-offs. I'll let Karen tell you about those a little later. They're wonderful. Donations. Many things can be donated. The Goodwill is a lovely organization. They give back to the city. I have heard people say less than kind things about Goodwill, and I don't think it's merited. They help people who are homeless. They help people who are unemployed get jobs. They have education that they supply. They have several educational centers. They really do good in the community, and they also keep, how much was it, Karen, out of the landfill? Was it like 50,000 pounds a year of trash out of the landfill? Because they're even when you donate it and it doesn't sell, they have a secondary market that they sell it on. And you want to sort items to be sold, held in a separate area. Oops. Oh, here. Okay, some other helpful tips when you're doing something. Set a timer, then take a break. 15-20 minutes is, you can get a lot done in 15 or 20 minutes. Don't pull out more than you can take care of in 15 minutes. It's okay if you only get one shelf, one cabinet, one drawer. You don't have to do all at once. It didn't all appear in your house overnight, and you don't have to get rid of it in a day. You can take enough time. You can go through and take a rest. Don't overload yourself. Talk to the people in your family. I have my grandkids love it that I have a little group text. I just take pictures of things I'm getting rid of, and they know that if they want it, all they have to say is, I want it. Every once in a while, I get so excited because there's a fight over, 2 or 3 people wanting the same thing. Um, so that helps. It's something they want. It helps them. It helps me. Um, so uh, that's a win-win situation. And you may not have people in your family that want the stuff, but I found out that poor kids in their 20s are usually looking for things. The other thing is to know no waste, use the Louisville's resources. There's a wonderful, do we have is the website, nah, hold on. We'll see a QR code coming up eventually. And there's a nice program for your cell phone that you can download. And if you don't know what to do with something, what do I do with fluorescent light bulbs? If you don't know, you don't know, but you can go into the Recycle Coach and put in fluorescent light bulbs. It'll tell you where to take them. So that helps with oddball things, especially. Okay, I found out you're going to get rid of stuff. You already have some type of a connection to it, so it's hard to get rid of. Talk to family members, see if there's somebody that wants it. Make contact with nieces and nephews and cousins and see if there's something that they want. Find charities that need what you have. Karen, do we have the handout on the charity list by any chance?
I can pull that up. I don't think I've made it. I'll see if I can get a link for that so we can share it
Okay.
to everybody. Thanks.
Okay. Well, we came up with a list, and we probably need to update it because it changes rapidly, about different charities in the area and the things they want. What you don't want to do is take something to a charity and cause them problems. I always ask when I take things. Not every place takes the same stuff. I have 2 friends that have peddler in the booths in the peddlers malls, and that's lovely. I can come and say, I got a big box of stuff. You want any of it? And they'll take it, and helps them, helps me. You can donate to small businesses. I found when my dad died, I had over 8,000 books I had to get rid of, and I didn't want them going to the landfill. That was part of, he loved books, and part of me acknowledging that part of him was that I wasn't going to throw them away. I was going to find a home for them. At some point, even the library doesn't want that many books. Though they did take some, they do have the Friends of the Library. But I found a lot of them were religious books, and I found a small Christian bookstore who could take them, couldn't pay me for them, but he was very glad to get them during the pandemic. He sold online, and that helped him. So sometimes if you get thinking about it, you can find places that'll take things. We have, I don't know, have any of you have sold on Facebook or Craigslist or any of those, or Neighborhood. You can advertise free things. You can sell on there too. So that's some of the other resources that are available. Here's the Recycle Coach. If you scan that, it'll load a program to your phone. It'll tell you when the trash comes if you're within the city. Now, not everybody has city trash pickup. I'm one of them that doesn't. But it also tells you what to do with many of the things. We had already discussed this some. There's a large item pickup. If you call, actually, I think you schedule the appointment online, and they will come by and pick up, is it 4, 5 items?
Yep, up to 4 items.
Up to 4 items.
Large items that don't fit in your garbage cart.
Yeah. So you have some chairs to get rid of. Maybe they're broken. You can call and say, this is what I have. A friend of mine said somebody dumped at his house, in his alley, back of his house. And I told him that the city would pick up the 4 tires, that if he set them out and called, that they would pick up 4 at a time. He had 8 of them, so he'll have to call twice. So one of the things I found out is to be a little bit generic, they want to have some idea of how much space they have to save. So if you say 4 chairs, they got an idea. And if you say 4 chairs and you have to get rid of 6 of them and somebody takes them, you can always put an extra one out, but don't tell anybody I told you that. Okay. Okay, this is being recorded.
Ah,
I've told on myself.
that's all right. As long as it's the same item.
That's
They
right.
won't pick it up if you just start putting other things out.
No, you can't put out a table. If you said there were 4 chairs, you can't put out 3 chairs and a table. Uh, so the Waste Reduction Center is a lovely place. Well, lovely if you want to get rid of things. It's not the prettiest place in the world. Um, you can drop things off there. Sometimes, how much can they drop off for free? 4 items?
4 items. It's the same as pickup. So if you
Okay.
don't have that service, don't live with city services, you can still drop off 4 large household items. But they also will take 3 electronic devices. TVs are really hard to get rid of these days, but we still take those for free to recycle. And up to 4 tires would be free. But when you start getting, if you have to like really demolish a room or you're doing a whole big renovation project, you might get into where you have to pay. And so you would want to load your truck as much as you can because you pay by the truckload. So if you're doing a big, huge yard debris kind of thing, that's can be composted, but it does cost. And then construction and demolition is pretty much just trash, but that both of those start at $60 a dump fee. If you have a really big trailer, it can be $120.
One other thing about the yard waste is sometimes when we have the large storms that come through, if you'll wait a day or two, sometimes the city has some specials on how to get rid of the yard waste. I mean, if you've got a tree down in your yard, you've got enough problems. Anyway, so I would say wait a day and see if or two and see if the city announces that there may be a places to drop it off closer to your house. I believe they have different drop off areas in the city besides just down at Meriwether on when there's been a storm.
Yeah, it depends on where the storm is. If it's really bad in certain areas of the town. There is currently a drop off going on right now, but it's only on Meriwether because it was a small location.
Meriwether's very centrally located. So that's one of the good things. The pop-up drop-offs, I love them. Karen, you want to talk about them?
Sure. This flyer has our whole schedule on here, and I can't believe we're halfway through the year. So our next one is July 20th at Fern Creek. You enter at the elementary school and exit at the high school. But the picture there shows all the different things that can be dropped off for free. So large household items, there's no limit on this one. Electronics, we still have a limit of 3. Metal, we just collect that separately. So any kind of scrap metal, we'll recycle that. Household recyclables, there's lots of options to drop that off anywhere, but that you can bring them to this as well. Some people end up with large things of cardboard and bring them to our drop off. Prescription medication, we have a partnership with the sheriff's office and they bring some deputies to collect prescriptions for safe disposal. Yard waste, we want it bundled or bagged like you would at the curb so that it can be offloaded easily. Shredding, we have we pay shred it to come to the events and shred documents, and you can bring up to 4 tires. And we also have a partnership with Water Step where we collect shoes, and they do come and get them back from our office. But we've done really well with that too. If you're familiar with Water Step. Now, listed there in the red, very important of things that you cannot bring, like garbage, loose garbage, bagged. We just don't want your garbage. That's what you'd put in your own garbage cart. paint or other hazardous waste, construction materials, items containing Freon. If you got to get rid of a refrigerator or freezer or something like that, you can take it to Meriwether. We just can't handle that on the trucks. So that's why it's best to only bring that to the waste reduction center. But again, you can use the Recycle Coach app to search any of those things. And let's see, I got a couple of questions. Pam mentioned that Louisville Freegans is a Facebook page, which actually I got rid of an old trampoline net that was torn, and someone wants to use it as netting for her chicken yard. So she's going to pick that up later this week. And I did that on the Louisville Freegans Facebook page, so I didn't have to throw it in the garbage. Lee asked if broken Christmas lights are considered electronics. Yes, they are. You can take those to Meriwether or a pop-up drop-off. At Christmas time, Lowe's usually has a bin for recycling Christmas lights as well. You want to go on, Maureen? What's next?
Well, I don't know. I would, it being online, I would like to ask questions about what kind of things people are trying to get rid of, and do you need to know where to take them? And
yeah, well, I've got the chat up, so feel free to ask more questions if you'd like.
okay, and I don't know where the chat is, so we'll end the slideshow.
Is that the end of the
I'm now
the end of the slides?
Yes, I believe. Well, maybe not. No, I think we have one more. Oh, this
that's
is
just
okay. Oh yes, no,
yeah.
there's more. You're right. I thought
that's
it was
okay.
really short.
So that's our list of what can go to the has-been. I try to make short URLs for anything on our website. So if you can remember louisvilleky.gov, put a slash and then has-been, and you'll see the page that lists all the things you can take there. It's for residents only, not businesses, but there's lots of different things that they'll accept. Especially if you're cleaning out a garage, you end up with this kind of stuff, then, you know, and things just sit for so long. Sometimes people move into a place and have to clean out something. So even if it wasn't even yours, you might end up having to deal with it. Yeah, I'm still watching the chat if anybody has any more questions. Oh, Pam asks about taking clean, worn out clothes. I would suggest to still donate clothing as long as it's not like Maureen mentioned it with that house with the drug users and there was a major mess. If it's still clean and worn out, Pam, I would still give to Goodwill. We were able to tour their Second Chance outlet store on Preston and learn how they, how they go about moving the material, and I've heard that people will sometimes just donate and just put recycle on a bag or something just so they know it's probably not even worth trying. But basically they'll put things on their shelves, on the racks. Things that don't sell go to the Second Chance outlet, and it comes out in they call them boats, but they're kind of like big tables that are kind of like a bin, and they come out and people will rummage through, buy things. It's kind of like that last chance to actually get purchased, and that material is sold by the pound, and anything that doesn't sell when it's out on the floor, it gets pulled back, and then the clothing gets baled and sold to buyers that are going to make it into something else, whether it's carpet padding or rags or whatever it is that's going to happen. But that's what I would suggest. I've heard other stores like St. Vincent de Paul will also bale clothing that doesn't sell. It's just Goodwill's the only one that I've actually seen firsthand that process, which was pretty cool. Good question.
Paint is always a problem. Latex paint, you can take the oil-based paints to the has-been, but the latex paint is harder to get rid of. They used to have a recycling program in Louisville, but they don't have that anymore. So if you can dry the paint out in the can, open the can up and let it dry, you can then throw it in the garbage can. You could recycle the lids. But if there's a lot of it, you may have to stir in kitty litter. As long as it won't pour out of the can, you can put it, the kitty litter in it, put it in a plastic bag and put it in the garbage. You don't want a big streak of paint going down the road. You don't want the inside of the garbage truck filled with paint either. And I'm sure that the tippers don't particularly want to get covered in paint. So do put kitty litter in it, and as long as it's not liquid at that point, you can then throw it away.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions about paint. But yeah, it's only the actual hazardous paint, like the oil base, that they will accept at the has been. It's kind of a bummer. If it seems usable, I would also offer that up for free if people just do projects and maybe don't care about color exactly. Lee asked about scrap metal recycling in Louisville because other than a pop-up drop-off. There's recyclers all you can Google that and go to any scrap metal recycler. There's various ones. And they'll actually pay you for that. It's sometimes, I know, like some people save it up until they have a large load and try to get a little bit of cash for it. If you're not interested in doing that, there's scrappers that you could probably post something for free, and someone will probably come get it that is a scrapper, as they might say, that does that regularly. So that's an option. The Waste Reduction Center does have a dumpster for metal. So if you bring only metal, I'm told that you could take it for free because we're turning that in and getting a little bit of money for it too. But different people work at that booth, and if it's not a large item, I get nervous that maybe they won't understand that you're just trying to recycle metal. So I prefer the pop-ups for that, just to not have to run into that issue. But you could try.
I'm going to make a little comment on the metal that when you're going to the has-been, it's located on Grade Lane. And if you go up Grade Lane, there are 3 metal recyclers on that road right there. It's very close to the has-been. Just drive up there and you can just drive in. It's pretty easy. I've had to get rid of metal before, and the garbage man won't pick it up, so you have to be creative. I started recycling stuff. Had a house where they had left I-beams, metal I-beams. Couldn't use the garage. It had a whole bunch of them in there. So I found places that would buy them so I could get them out of there. So I do know that there's 3 of them on Grade Lane. As far as I know, I've dealt with, I think 2, maybe all 3 of them. So there's an option for them. And take your has-been at the same time and drop it off. Any other questions on that?
There's no more in the chat.
Okay. You can do it. It's not impossible. Yeah, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some stick-to-itiveness, but you can do it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just better. You can make an improvement. In a very short time, you'll see an improvement. It looks like it's overwhelming, but doing 15 minutes every day will produce huge results. So any other questions? I'll be glad to answer them, or Karen may be able to answer them.
Thank you, Maureen. I know you've had a lot of experience with cleaning out and downsizing, so you've got.
I attract pack rats. I come from a long line of pack rats.
Yeah. At the we did this program at a library, and there was a young adult there, I guess, and he was more I think just thinking ahead, doesn't want to accumulate too much stuff. So if you're young enough to not accumulate and kind of start that habit early, and then but sometimes we still end up having to help clean out clean out someone's house or a room or something. Pam does ask about worn out shoes. WaterStep wants shoes that are still usable. That is true. They will take any shoes, but I know they try to sell, go to third world countries and try to sell those. So they don't necessarily want completely worn out shoes. They can still be donated to, well, they can just be trashed. Otherwise, it would be a Goodwill kind of situation again. That's, that they're going to end up at these places, WaterStep, Goodwill, they're all going to try their best to get this material to a place where it's more of a beneficial use. It does cost money to landfill things, so it's not going to be the first option to just throw a bunch of stuff away. So they are, they're going to try to use what they can. But yeah, I know sometimes things are so worn out, they're pretty much just trash.
I got to thinking the other day, Karen, that some people don't even know where to start or how to start, and it seems really hard. So if I was advising people who are just trying to downsize, practice a little bit. Go into your kitchen. Um, get rid of all the foods that it's expired. If it's still good and expired, well, if you've had it long enough to expire, you're not going to use it. But if it's still good, you can donate it to some of the charities around here. But you can go through and just clean out your pantry. You can clean out the refrigerator for the things that you know that need to go in that garbage can. You can go through your spices. Even if they're out of date, if they smell them, if they're flat, throw them away. And so this will give you some motivation if you do just a little bit of stuff like that. Another place that's a good place to start is to go through your medicine cabinet and get rid of old medicines that are expired. Because when they say they're expired, they can be dangerous. And so it's a good idea to do that. So start with things that are a little easier to let go of. There's not a whole lot of emotional attachment to green mashed potatoes in the refrigerator. So start with things that are easy to get rid of and work your way up. Do pictures last. Don't put those at the beginning of things. If you're starting to downsize your clothes, one of the things that I know that when you have everything in the house is dirty days and I have nothing to wear, you still have clothes in your drawers, you still have clothes hanging up, put in a load of clothes, go through a drawer and say, why am I not wearing this? Does it not fit? Do I not like it? And to be able to get rid of some of the stuff, the good stuff's all in the laundry. So you can get rid of the stuff that's left. That's another way to do it. So that's some little things where you can start that might be useful tips to some of these people.
Yep. Oh goodness. The in the chat, I had put the link. Hopefully you guys saw it. But I took the donation option flyer that we had made and I posted it onto our website so that you can see it through a link. So you can click on that and I'll make it more accessible on the website as well.
Okay.
And if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end, but please remember that you can email me anytime. Sometimes people can find me on Nextdoor, or I'll go ahead and type my email address in the chat. And I'm a fast email responder. I don't even like to clutter up my inbox if I can help it. So I try to answer those quick questions, simple questions about, well, it's simple to me about how to dispose of something. I'll answer you fast. So feel free to copy and paste that and hang on to it. Email me anytime. Thanks so much
And,
for doing this, Maureen.
you know, if you want to share my email address too, that would be fine. I have no problems if they have questions on, maybe they just feel stuck. Maybe they just need to talk to somebody because it's overwhelming to them. That's fine. They can send me an email too.
Very good.
Okay. I don't know if you've got that and you can put it up or not.
I am copying it from,
Oh, it's pretty easy. It's maureen.m.samuels@gmail.com.
yep, got it.
Okay. Thank you all for attending.
Yeah,
We
I'm glad we had a
appreciate you
few
taking the
people on,
time.
and we'll we'll hopefully, well, hopefully you all can come to other ones too. We have 2 more scheduled, one about recycling and one about composting. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, Karen.